So today we're going to talk about 3 critical elements to understanding the business of video and film. My name's Dallas Lammerman. I'm a photographer and filmmaker from beautiful Alberta, Canada. And today I'm going to talk about 3 things: understanding your audience, who's paying, and how are you getting eyeballs on your content. These 3 things are what drive the business. They're what get people to pay you for your art, and they're what get your content funded. These 3 things form like a symbiotic relationship. They're very interconnected. So let's break them down. So the first thing to understand is who is paying for this art? Who is paying for this project? And if your answer is, I just want to work on my art, I don't care who's paying for it. In fact, that's the problem. Nobody's paying for it. That simply means you are paying for the project. So we've got a couple of traditional options here. The first one being that you are going direct to the consumer. Someone says, I want to see your art. Take my $15 and let me watch your movie. Or someone commissions an art piece. They just love your work so much, they want one for themselves. That one doesn't happen too often for us filmmakers as an entire piece, but where you might find it is if you gain enough skill as a DP, or as a director, or as a sound guy, that someone says, I love your style of lighting. I love the way your art turns out. I want to hire you to work on my film project. And the other reason that people would pay us for our art is not for our art directly, but rather who our art appeals to, which bridges us into the second critical thing to understand about the business of film, and that is eyeballs. One of the most valuable things about art is that it attracts an audience. People like to watch movies. People like to watch videos. And certain people like to watch certain kinds of videos, while other people like to watch different kinds of movies and videos. And so your ability as a filmmaker to attract a certain kind of person, a certain kind of eyeball to your content can be very valuable to certain people who want to sell certain things, who want to gain access to that same group of people. In this situation, you are a gatekeeper of a very valuable resource: eyeballs. And the third critical element to understanding the film business is knowing your audience. So the more eyeballs you're able to get on your art, the more valuable it becomes. And that brings us to number 3. Know your audience. Your ability as a filmmaker to understand who the video you're making is for, and then execute on that and make a video that's perfect for them, is incredibly valuable. And people will pay you to get access to that ability like it's a superpower, or pay you to use it on them. So we have who's paying, how are we getting eyeballs, and understanding your audience. Now that might all feel a little bit abstract, but let's apply this to some different scenarios. So let's start with a feature film in a movie theater. The first payer is your investor. The investor is paying because they believe it would be a crime against humanity for this story not to reach the eyeballs that it could potentially reach. And then, of course, at the second level, you have the moviegoer. The moviegoer is paying at the box office or at a streaming service for access to that movie. And so ultimately, the movie has to appeal to that viewer, which is why it's so critical to understand and identify who is going to watch this movie, who is actually going to pay their hard-earned dollars for access to the viewing of this movie. And the more you nail those 2 things, the more eyeballs you'll get on your movie, which will be worth more to your potential investors, which of course means making more money and potentially having more funds for your project. All right, so how about we take a look at a YouTube commercial, like the one that played right here, right before this video. Someone with a product to sell found a filmmaker who they believed understood the audience that would be interested in buying their product. That would be you. Now you can determine whether they did a good job or not, but that business or someone with a product to sell paid that filmmaker for their ability to understand their audience. And then they paid Google for access to your eyeballs. Don't overthink it. It's actually not that weird. For example, a documentary. The investor on a documentary has something they want to sell. They have an idea that they want to sell, that they want propagated. Take, for example, the documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. It doesn't matter whether you or I like him or not, because he has a proven track record of being able to put eyeballs on his films. Who is paying? Ultimately, it's the investors. The the people who believe in his message and want that message propagated. He will often give away his documentaries for free because he understands that getting eyeballs on his films is more important than making a DVD sale or a streaming sale or whatever we've got now. Because next time he goes to make a documentary, the amount of funds he is able to procure will be directly related to the amount of eyeballs he was able to get on his last project. Other places you would see this are A-list actors and B-list actors, A-list directors and B-list directors, A-list cinematographers and B-list cinematographers, and all the rest of us no-name cinematographers. A producer will pay significantly more to have Steven Spielberg direct their film than they will pay you or me to direct their film, because Spielberg has earned a reputation of a guaranteed amount of eyeballs on his films. And what about a YouTube video like this one? Who's paying for that? I'm not monetized and I'm not sponsored. I do have some affiliate links in the description below, but in many ways it would look like I'm paying for this video. Now, I didn't put any cash out to make this video, but I did put out time. So there are more ways to pay than just money, because time and energy are valuable, right? And so when I'm analyzing who's paying for this video, I am thinking you're paying for this video. And so I guess I should say thank you for watching all the way to this point. And if enough people subscribe and I get enough eyeballs on my content on a regular basis, advertisers will be willing to pay me directly for access to your eyes. That sounds really creepy, but honestly, it's not that weird. Television is another interesting one because a number of years ago, the Space Channel had to do a complete rebrand. Why? Because they were having difficulty attracting advertisers. This is interesting because science fiction shows, while often being some of the most expensive to make, are also the shows that attract the most eyeballs. So why was Space Channel having difficulty attracting advertisers if they had huge audiences watching their shows? The answer was in understanding the audience. What is the common denominator of people who watch sci-fi shows? They wash their dishes and wipe their noses just like everybody else. And that's about it. Whereas a much smaller network that attracts far fewer eyeballs can command much higher advertising rates because their audience is focused. Having access to people who watch renovation shows is very valuable to certain businesses and sellers. Think building supply stores and home decor businesses. So the first thing someone who's producing a television show considers is who's the audience and who would pay to have access to those eyeballs. All right, I need to stop because this video is getting a little bit long. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I am planning on making more videos talking about the business of film, the business of making money with art, not starving as an artist, all that kind of good stuff. So if you have any specific questions about the business side of filmmaking, how to make money, doing what you love, leave your questions in the comments section below. I do try to read all of them. And one last time, if you liked this video, please hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.